Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner on Twitter. Thank you for your support, and I really appreciate all of you following me along for now. I think this is the 218th episode. So we've been doing a lot of these over 4 seasons now, I think. So thanks for being along for the ride. Whether it's your first time, please hit subscribe on YouTube. Also, for an Apple or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, please leave a 5-star review. It'd be great to get me up the search ratings. And if you haven't checked out patreon.com, I highly suggest you check it out. It's a great spot to save money, especially if you're a subscriber to me and other places. And you get all my picks all in one place. You get a notification if you download the app, all that sort of stuff. On today's episode, we're going to go through the first full card for the European soccer, season of 2023-2024. For here, I will be going through and making an ultimate best bet for the end of the show. And I will be coming up with who we're going to win money on this weekend. I had a really dominant first weekend. I think I was 7-1 posted on Twitter. Had a couple other bets that didn't make it out to Twitter, unfortunately, but it was a really good weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. Also, if you are a Patreon subscriber or a patron, you would have gotten your exclusive Friday episode, which kind of talked through the card for today's action. And I'll see if that's worth keeping doing it that way. I think I will, because I want to give my patrons a little bit more support for also supporting me. All lines quoted in this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag, my favorite place to get my bets down early. Reduced juices offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. Please follow the link found in the podcast description to fund your account. Use the promo code GW50 to receive a 50% match bonus up to $1,000. So Friday's out, it's gone, but we're going to go through the Saturday and Sunday and Monday cards across the major leagues here. And without further ado, we'll start in the English Premier League, where that's where the money is. So first matchup is Liverpool hosting Bournemouth. Currently, Liverpool a 2-goal favorite. Over under is 3.5, juice heavily to the over. Feels like a really big price considering how Liverpool performed in their first game of the season. I still don't really believe they deserve it. They're certainly an offense-only team this season. Bournemouth on their side had a so-so match up and down, but a good, I think, debut for Andoni Iraola, who really is going to sit back, defend, and try to use his pacey wingbacks to score goals. I'm not sure that Bournemouth is going to be as under of a team as I'd want them to be, though I did cash the under play last week. I'm not really sure what the answer is on kind of how this is all going to go. But it does feel like a really big price to me, and I'm not necessarily sure that Liverpool deserve to lay it. In terms of over-unders, it's hard. 3.5 is a huge total in soccer ultimately, but Liverpool are not playing to keep people off the scoreboard. Next is Fulham hosting Brentford. Currently Fulham a pick'em with almost all the juice on Brentford on the road. Over-unders 2.5, juiced about the same way, almost all the juice on the under. Fulham with a good win on the road, but then I think Mitrovic left they got one game out of him. And that was, worth 3 points. We'll see. But then sold him to, I think, to Al Nassr or one of the Saudi teams. Brentford, they're going to be spending the season, or at least half part of the season, without their goal scorer Ivan Toney. But they're a favorite on the road at Fulham. A big West London derby here from two of the non-big West London teams. But I don't really have a lot to do here at Pick'em. I think at over under 2.5. I do like under a little bit just based on not really trusting Fulham to score goals, and they're the home team here. But Brentford are pretty efficient with scoring. They were pretty good against Tottenham, getting 2 goals. Probably deserved at least 3 if Brian Mbomo hadn't skied one over the gaping net. I think under is my strongest lead in this one, if anything. Wolves then host Brighton. Currently, Wolves a half a goal underdog at home, coming off one of the most ridiculous missed penalties late in their match at Manchester United. Not surprising, as Manchester United seems to get a lot of calls that I'm not sure they deserve. Wolves should be heartbroken. Gary O'Neill talked a ton about it last season, got a yellow card in his first matchup, but didn't really even out for Bournemouth last season when he was the interim manager that ended up taking that job full time. I don't believe in, the Wolves performance was great. I do feel like some of that was a bad Manchester United, but credit Wolves for that. They got nothing from it though, and should be pretty determined to get something from Brighton at home. Problem is Brighton are really good, looked great. Their signings seem to always come through. They sell all their best players and somehow are recouping those players and just doing really, really well. Over under is 2.75 in this one, which feels a little high for a Wolves match. I'm pretty sure I bet this one under last season. I don't think it went very well. Wolves are not a team that's going to score a lot of goals. were shut out at Manchester United. Brighton aren't that sort of team. They're going to be on the front foot attacking this whole time. It's going to be hard for me to want to play Wolves here as a home underdog, just because I didn't really like them coming in the season. I feel like they're a reasonable chance for relegation side, and you don't really want to back those early in the season. At least I don't think, until the Lions are going to reflect exactly how low they are on the table. I also am a little scared to play a Brighton under 2.75 because I just don't necessarily want to play unders with a team that's not going to try to prevent the other team from scoring, and they're going to try to rub it in and score those late goals. That's the deserving way. Next, I'll go to Tottenham hosting Manchester United, and I guess we got a weird English schedule on this week, probably because Man City played in the Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup midweek. But Tottenham currently a quarter goal underdog at home to Manchester United with all the juice. Over under is 3, pretty juicy over. I would expect a lot of goals just based on Ange Ball and what he's basically brought to Tottenham, which is not much defense. I sat some fantasy Premier League defenders that I have in my roster. I have Idogi, and I'm too scared of them giving up a ton of goals, and he's going to have to be on the other end of an assist or score himself to really make it worth it in FPL, which I think isn't probably relevant to a ton of people, especially if you don't play. But I do think it speaks to Tottenham's inability to defend, which makes me have no interest in under 3. Does feel a little bit low to me, I guess, if I had to say something. I don't necessarily feel like that. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to play over 3 in this matchup, especially considering how poorly Manchester United played. And when the big six tend to play each other, I feel like goals are few and far between. But we'll see. This is a big test for Ange Ball to see how that goes. Lastly, the nightcap on Saturday, Manchester City hosting Newcastle. Currently City, a 3/4 goal favorite with almost all the juice. Over unders 2.75, juice to the over slightly. I like Newcastle. I think I want to get a full goal of insurance, and I'm not sure I'm going to get this before it kicks off. Certainly the juice is more on the Man City side, but we only have less than 24 hours, so I'm not sure that'll occur. But Man City lost Kevin De Bruyne to surgery this week. They have not really looked like the same team. They were pretty average, I thought, in the Super Cup, or excuse me, the Continental Shield, as they call it in England, when they played when they played Arsenal, gave up a late goal and lost some penalties. They weren't, to me, that impressive against Burnley either. Had a pretty easy win, but that was really Haaland getting loose in the box. And this is going to be a big test for Newcastle. I'm waiting to see if they climb to a 1-goal underdog. I'm not really into playing unders with Manchester City, I don't think. Moving to Sunday, we have Aston Villa hosting Everton. Currently Villa, a 3/4 goal favorite, trying to, I guess, shake off a really bad performance in their opener. Partly, I think, due to officiating, but I'll let that go, considering my Twitter mentions have been going nuts for about a week for that. Villa, a 3/4 goal favorite, I said, with almost all the juice. Over under is 2.5 with almost all the juice as well. I don't believe in Everton to score goals. Aston Villa certainly had a shock when they lost Tyrone Mings to injury in the middle of that game, and then a big defensive mistake. I expect Unai Emery and the Villa team just be very interested in playing defense in this one. So Everton's a team that I expect they're a little bit more aggressive, I think, offensively in their opener, but I don't expect that to occur much more going forward. I think they're going to be a very good under team this season, and I like under 2.5. Last one on Sunday is West Ham hosting Chelsea. Currently West Ham a 1/4 goal underdog at home with all the juice on Chelsea on the road. Over just 2.5 with a little bit more or almost all the juice on the over. West Ham looked fairly good in their opener. It looks like the Paqueta transfer to Manchester City has gone down because of rumors that he's got some gambling allegations coming his way. That's dangerous. And that would zap a very important creativity source in their midfield. I also thought Thomas Souček could have scored a goal early for West Ham and was very involved offensively, a lot more than he ever was with Declan Rice in that midfield. So it seems like he might be picking up some scoring slack. I'm not sure I really believe in that doing too much in the long run, but I still don't believe in Chelsea to score goals. Yes, they look better against Pochettino or under Pochettino, but there's a long way to go. And I'm just never going to expect Chelsea to score. So I like under 2.5 in that one. I think it's especially good with a home underdog and when the road team is not expected to score much. I don't know that I believe necessarily in West Ham as much as an underdog at the 1/4 goal. As of course, as it climbs to a half, I'd be more interested. I think under is the way to go in that one. Last but not least, the Monday nightcap is Crystal Palace hosting Arsenal in I guess a London derby. Crystal Palace currently a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice, very juice. Might even fall to 3/4 before this kicks off. Over under is 2.5, juice to the over. Arsenal didn't look great to me, kind of held on for dear life in their opener, but that's, I guess, something that's probably going to happen a lot for them. I don't necessarily know because everything's crashing near me. Sorry about that. I don't really know what I kind of expect from Arsenal. It's not a lot, I can tell you that. But I guess they got 3 points, and that's what matters. But I don't know necessarily that I like Crystal Palace either. They were they had an easy first matchup on the road at Sheffield United, but they didn't look good in Friday's match. So I don't know that I'm really going to take too much from that, to be frank. So I probably not going to do anything at that +1 or the under 2.5. And for the ultimate best bet, which is coming end of show, I'll give West Ham under 2.5 as my best bet for England. Next, I'll move to La Liga in Spain. And we had 2 matches that were played today. So we'll start on Saturday with an early match. Super hot in Spain, so keep that in mind. Depth will be tested and will be important. Real Sociedad are hosting Celta de Vigo in the north of Spain, so that's probably good in the Basque Country. Celta currently a 3/4 goal underdog on the road with almost all the juice right now, which is a bit surprising to me because I don't think they're a good team. They looked awful in their opener, got dominated at home by Osasuna. Over-under is 2, juiced heavily to the over, which seems like a low total, but Rafa Benitez is coming at Celta de Vigo. I'm not a believer in him or them. I think I need a lot more than under 2, so I'll move on to the next. And that's Almeria hosting Real Madrid. Currently, Almeria 1.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, juiced heavily to the under. Real Madrid didn't look good in their opener either. Lost Thibaut Courtois. Are dealing with trying to replace Karim Benzema. I don't think that they're going to win the title again this season. I think it's Barcelona's to lose, though they certainly did get off to a great start last weekend. But Almeria, they were not a very good defense on the road last year or just in general. They're going to be tested by Real Madrid. I think my biggest interest in this one is under 3. That gives you a little bit more than that 1.5 that Almeria is playing with. And I don't know that they're really going to threaten the Real Madrid defense too much in this matchup. Next, I'll go the nightcap on Saturday is Osasuna hosting Athletic Club Bilbao. Currently a pick'em right now with all the juice on Athletic Club on the road. Over under is 2, juice all completely juiced to the over, potentially going to get a 2.25. I really like Osasuna in this one. I wish that they were a 1/4 goal underdog right now, and I will be stalking that one, looking for it, and probably adding it as soon as I get there. Don't have it yet, so don't want to give it out because it's not available to everyone, and wouldn't advise paying big juice because ultimately this Athletic Club team in the same matchup gets bet a lot. I mean, I bet Osasuna, I think, to advance. And then both legs of the Copa del Rey last year in the semifinal before Osasuna ended up winning and going to the final against Real Madrid, which they lost. But I just feel like Osasuna is a better club and they don't get any of their credit for it. Moving to Sunday of Girona hosting Getafe. Currently Girona a 1/2 goal favorite at home with all the juice on Getafe on the road. Over under is 2, juice to the under. Not a lot of expectation for this one. Getafe are going to do their best to muck this game up and make it as difficult for Girona at home, even though Getafe probably should see themselves as a better club than Girona. They were nowhere near them in the La Liga table last season. Barcelona are not to be trusted just yet, at least scoring goals and going over. And Getafe got them to play right in their hands. Girona, I think, are probably going to win. If I had to pick someone in this match, I would go with the home team and the favorite. Not a lot for me to do with it under 2, though, for a total. Barcelona, as I just mentioned, then host Cadiz. Currently, Barca, a 1 3/4 goal favorite at home, which is pretty big considering the lack of showing that they had their opener, plus the struggles that I think they've had, ultimately, despite winning La Liga last season with scoring goals. Over-under is 3 in this one, though, which is gigantic, and I can't agree with that one. No way, Jose, impossible. Cadiz, they've gone to Barcelona and I think got a goalless draw before. Might even have won at Camp Nou. It's also not Camp Nou this season, I don't think. They're doing construction there and playing in some other stadiums. So I don't expect it to be as big of a home field advantage for Barcelona, though they have huge fans everywhere they go. So maybe it's not that huge of a loss, but I think it will be. And getting 3 right now, it's very juiced at the moment. But if you're going to play under in that one, don't lose that 3. To the nightcap on Sunday, and that's Real Betis hosting Atletico Madrid, and which is a pretty big matchup to say the least. Betis currently a 1/2 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.25, juiced all the way to the over. Atleti, I thought, were average, but ultimately survived and got their 3 points against Granada. Betis with a good take a lead, and then of course give up an equalizer, but then they won the match late, and it was a pretty good showing and cashed me a ticket. So I appreciate Real Betis for that. Always questions about discipline in this matchup for both these teams. Real Betis, I think, are less trustworthy, which is saying something compared to Atletico Madrid. But Atleti have been a lot better lately. I think my interest is in this one is the Real Betis. I think that they're they have a huge crowd support. I went to the Benito Villamarin, and it was really cool and should be very loud, intense, and pretty raucous against the opposing teams. I felt it as people thought I was German in that one when I saw Leverkusen play there. I guess, leaned to under 2.25 in this one as well. So I don't see a ton of goals being scored. But when red cards happen, you never really know what's going to come next. And that's certainly a non-zero risk or probability in bet in that matchup. Moving to Monday, we have 2 matches. Alaves hosting Sevilla. Currently Alaves a quarter goal underdog with all the juice at home. Over under is 2. Juice the under. Sevilla coming off their UEFA Super Cup in some faraway land. I forget exactly where it was. But anyway, so they're probably going to be a little tired. Had a really tough loss late in their opener against Valencia, though they didn't play very well, I thought. Alaves were way worse, losing to Cadiz and really not doing anything to trouble a pretty bad Cadiz team. Alaves are not really the side I want to back. Yes, at home they probably look better, but they're very juiced right now. Might fall to pick them before this kicks off. I feel like Sevilla are a team I want to be against, and I do like the idea. I guess if I'm talking myself into it, I do like the idea that Sevilla are going to potentially be a little bit fatigued going into this one, but I think I'd be more interested in under 2, but with Mendilibar, that's also tough to do. So I guess Alaves aside is my interest in that one. Granada then hosts Rayo Vallecano in the nightcap on Monday. Granada currently a quarter goal favorite. All the juice on Rayo on the road. Over under is 2, juiced heavily to the over, and probably is climbing to 2.25. I don't know that I trust Granada's defense just yet. Recently promoted, went down for a season, came back up to La Liga from the Segunda División. I think Rayo are a team that I want to back, though, until things change precipitously. The imprint of Andoni Iraola is still there, and I believe in it. I think my biggest interest in that one is the Rayo side, but we'll end up seeing what happens there. I'm going to go with the Cadiz under 3 as my best bet in Spain. And let's move through this kind of rapid fire edition to Serie A, which is opening weekend in Italy. And we start matches, we're none on Friday, so we're starting them all on Saturday, which will be cool. I think so. Frosinone, a recently promoted, will start against Napoli at the same kickoff time as Empoli and Verona. Start in rotation order, though. Frosinone, a 1.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2.75, juice heavily to the over. This is a big test to see what Napoli are going to be. They were pretty bad for the second half of the season after dominating Serie A and running away with the Scudetto last season. I'm not interested in backing newly promoted just yet. Empoli hosts Verona in what looks like a match between 2 pretty equal teams. Empoli have been better than Verona. Verona had to fight their way through a relegation playoff to stay in the league. Currently, Empoli a quarter goal favorite at home, which is basically saying these 2 teams are equal on a neutral. Over under is 2.25, juice the over. The Verona defense is really not great, and that does give me some pause with wanting to play under here, but I think that's my strongest interest in this one, which is under 2.25. Next, I'll go to Genoa, who's another recently promoted. They're hosting Fiorentina, who are probably trying to fight their way into Europe yet again. Genoa, a quarter goal underdog at home. Over under is 2.25, juiced heavily to the over. Or all the juices on the over. Again, I think I want to see how this newly promoted, who's been in the league very recently, how they perform. Fiorentina I think, beat me a fair amount last year, unfortunately. I'm not sure that I'm as concerned about that and feel like there's some money to be earned against them again this year, but I'm going to wait and see this first matchup. Inter Milan then host Monza in a battle of one team that really was great to me towards the end of the year, and I backed Monza every time. And then I feel like I had a really good taste in my mouth from Inter Milan covering the spread against Manchester City in the Champions League final. Monza, 1.5 goal underdog right now with all the juice. Over under is 3 with a little more juice the under. I think Monza, the weird thing about them is they're a very much attacking team, which has a lower budget and kind of smaller club. That's a little bit bizarre, but they did a lot of great business. They have a good, talented roster. I like them getting a 1.5 goals from Inter because I think they can hang around. And I think they drew or might even have beaten Inter when Inter was struggling last season. Moving to Sunday, we have Roma hosting Salernitana. Currently, Roma a 1-goal favorite at home with more of the juice. Over-unders 2.25, juiced heavily to the over. Or all of it's on the over side. Salernitana, another team that was really good towards the end of the year, and I do like getting that full goal of insurance. I think I'm interested there. I want to see a little bit what the lineups look like and whether I want to start a campaign fading Roma because they had a really tough end of the season and were split between two competitions and really didn't perform very well towards the end. But probably could be good at the beginning of the year when they get a rebirth. Sassuolo then hosts Atalanta. Currently, Sassuolo a 0.5-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over-unders 3, juice heavily to the under. Atalanta are a great offensive team. They've built up their squad, but they've also sold a lot of pieces. Sassuolo are in some sort of weird contract dispute with their star captain, Domenico Berardi. That's a concern for me. I don't really know. I mean, I'm not playing under with these two clubs. They are offense only, essentially. So the only real interest for me is Sassuolo getting 0.5-goal at home, but I want to make sure that Berardi's in that lineup, and it doesn't look like he will be for the next few matches until they figure out his transfer saga. Lecce then hosts Lazio. Lecce currently a 0.5-goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over-unders 2.25, juice to the under. Lazio were really good last year, didn't get a lot of respect. They should be pretty good at keeping teams off the scoreboard. So really it depends if you think Lecce are going to keep this one close. You probably want to play under 2.25. And I guess that's my interest there, but I mean, a home dog getting a 0.5-goal draw wins a bet. That's interesting, but I think Lazio are better, even though they're going to miss the loss of Sergei Milinkovic-Savic to the Saudi Pro League. Udinese then hosts Juventus. Currently, Udinese a 0.5-goal underdog at home. Over-unders 2.25, juiced a little bit to the over. Udinese are tough for me to kind of speak to because they had a really up and down year last year. Started off the year so well and then really kind of fell apart. The manager stuck around, so they should be pretty aggressive offensively. Juve are in a transition period, not in Champions League, and they've got to figure out a lot of things that have really impacted them financially. I think my interest here is based on Max Allegri, especially as a road favorite, trying to take a lead and then sitting on that lead. And that's what Juve really, I think, want to win every match 1-0, and you can even get a 1-1 or a 2-0 victory for Juventus, and those all go under. So that's my interest there, under 2.25. Moving to Monday, we have two matches. Torino hosting Cagliari. Currently, Torino a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice at home, might be climbing to 1. Over-under is 2.25, juice the over. It's hard for me to trust Torino to score. I'm not really sure about Cagliari yet. I want to see them kind of get their footing in the Premier League as a newly promoted, or in Serie A as a newly promoted, before I trust them. And then last but not least in Italy for this episode, Bologna hosting Milan. Currently, Bologna a 0.5-goal underdog at home with the over-under at 2.5, juice pretty heavily to the under. Bologna are a team I want to back this year. I don't know if against Milan is the team to do it. I don't really feel great about unders with Milan because they can score goals. They've also done a lot to change their squad, sold some pieces, but also brought in some good ones. Bologna have a lot of times had a tough time scoring. I think that they're a team I want to back against lower competition as a slight underdog on the road or against the big guys at home. But I don't know that Milan are a team I want to fade necessarily right now. So for my best bet in Serie A for this, I guess, first episode of the season, well, second episode of the season, but first that had Serie A matches featured, I'm going to go with Monza getting a 1.5 from Inter. I can't get off that wagon. I think it literally covered from like the last 5 match days of the season, and I see no reason to get off of it. Next, I'll move to the Bundesliga, which Bayern München played today, so that's probably a big name that will be not there. But anyway, start with Saturday, a really big matchup for teams that are trying to compete for the title, or at least for Champions League. And it's Bayer Leverkusen hosting RB Leipzig. Currently, Leverkusen a pick'em with all the juice. Over-unders 2.75, juiced to the over. This one's been moving around a little bit. I want to say earlier in the year, or at least this summer, that you could have gotten Leipzig as a 1/4 goal underdog. I don't know if that's actually the case. It looks like it has not been there. They've just been it's been pick 'em for a while. So I take that back. But with that said, I'm pretty interested in Leipzig. Back them. If you haven't heard already and didn't listen to the Bundesliga podcast, I suggest you going through that. But my best bet under show is Leipzig to win the Bundesliga, and I think they got a chance. I think they're more likely to win it than Dortmund, and ultimately they're getting third best odds. So I'll take that 12-1 or so, as I think there are big problems with Bayern. But anyway, they're not going to be featured on the show because they already played. So Leipzig at a pick'em. I want to see if they move to a 1/4 goal. They're not there yet. And I don't really have a feel for this total. It feels like Leverkusen are going to go a much more defensive way this season. but that's yet to be seen. I want to see that happens with that over under of 2 3/4, juiced heavily to the over. VfL Wolfsburg then hosts Heidenheim, newly promoted. Currently, Wolfsburg a 1-goal favorite at home. All the juice on Heidenheim on the road. Over under is 3, with all the juice on the under as well. I don't know what to think about Heidenheim yet. They've had bad problems with defense in the past. At least I saw that in a relegation playoff a couple seasons ago against Köln. Wolfsburg have done a lot to their clubs. They should be pretty good. I'm looking to back them as an underdog, not as a big favorite here. Hoffenheim then hosts Sports Club Freiburg. Currently, Hoffenheim a 1/4 goal favorite, with a little bit more of the juice on Freiburg on the road. Over under is 2 3/4, juice the over. And Hoffenheim has done a lot of acquisitions in this offseason. Freiburg are also going to be in Europa League again, so they've done a lot more holding on to their talent than selling, I think. Freiburg as the underdog is always interesting to me, especially against a Hoffenheim team that I don't really trust their manager. I fully trust Freiburg's, and I think they can keep this really close. Over under 2 3/4. I normally would like unders at that type of at that high for Freiburg. You don't see that a lot, but I think it's a kind of a statement on Hoffenheim and their defense at this point. So that makes me like Freiburg a little bit more. Football Club Augsburg then hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach, currently a pick'em with almost all the juice on Gladbach on the road. Over under is 3, with almost all the juice on under. I like under here as well. I think Gladbach have been in a transition mode ever since they made Champions League a few seasons ago and advanced the knockout stage. It's basically been a disaster since then. I think Augsburg are just not a team that I can trust to ever score goals. Their defense is problematic as well. But I like under 3 there because I feel like you get a push on a number that shouldn't be that high. So again, if you want to play under, probably take it before you lose 3 to 2 3/4. Next, I'll go to Stuttgart hosting VfL Bochum. Currently, Stuttgart a 3/4 goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over under is 2 3/4 with a ton of juice, probably climbing to 3. Stuttgart are going to play out aggressively offensively, got a lot of respect from odds makers towards the end of the season, but ultimately had them save themselves in a relegation playoff. Bochum are one of the lowest budget squads, would be the lowest if not for the 2 newcomers. And Bochum were really bad on the road last year. I don't know that I want to trust them. I think Stuttgart, part of me feels like this is a year they should break out and finally get away from the bottom of the table, but it's been a long process, and teams that barely survive relegation playoffs don't do very well the next season. Borussia Dortmund then hosts Köln in the nightcap. It's the Top Spiel, I believe it's called in Germany. Saturday night big game. Dortmund a 1.5 goal favorite to Köln right now. With Köln all the juice. Over under is 3 1/4, juice all the way to the over. Might see 3.5 before this kicks off. I don't trust Dortmund. They are going to probably struggle to forget losing the Meisterschale on the last day, which they were a huge favorite to win. Köln though are one of the lower squad value clubs, and I wonder what their financials are like because they're a way bigger club than that. But they've really struggled to build that team and had a really bad year last year despite qualifying for a European competition 2 seasons ago. It's going to be a big adjustment. I don't really trust them to go into Dortmund and use their high press to keep it close. And I don't like playing unders with Borussia Dortmund at all. Moving to Sunday, Union Berlin hosts Mainz 04, or 05, excuse me. 04 are down in the Schweizer Liga, and that's Schalke. Anyway, Union, a 1/2 goal favorite. All the juice on Mainz on the road. Over under is 2 1/4, juice the over. I'm going to try my best. Union Berlin have been such a great team to back, similar to Freiburg for me. Good as road underdogs, and then fading them at home has never really worked out very well for me. Mainz, I think, are a really solid team. They're going to play very aggressively and very good defense. I think my biggest interest is under 2 1/4 here, especially getting odds right now, even money. I guess not getting odds, but at even money, that I like that more than I like other things. And 2 teams that are going to play a lot of defense. It's going to be hard to see 3 goals in this one. Certainly could get there because the Bundesliga defense is not great across the board, but it's one that I expect to have a low total when we come out of here on Sunday. And then last but not least, Eintracht Frankfurt welcome a newly promoted SV Darmstadt. Currently, Frankfurt a 1 1/4 goal favorite, almost all the juice. Over under is 2 3/4, fully juiced to the over. Frankfurt are gonna, I think, be a better team this year, but we'll see what that looks like, and we'll see what that looks like against a newly promoted. I don't necessarily know that I believe in. I don't know that I believe in Darmstadt at all, so I don't think they're going to stick around. So I'm probably not going to play them. And my ultimate best bet, or I guess decision from the Bundesliga will be Augsburg under 3 goals, because I really think that push on 3 is very, very valuable. Last but not least, I'll go through Ligue 1 in France, and they're in week 2 of their season. And then I'll sum it all up, give a best bet, and get out of here. And you can all enjoy your Friday nights if you're catching me live. If you're not, if you're on all the other streaming platforms, please subscribe or leave a 5-star review. And if I see a question or something on there that's good to read, I will certainly read it. So start on Saturday, the early match. We have Lyon hosting Montpellier. Currently Lyon a 3/4 goal favorite with a little bit more juice. Over under is 3, juice to the over. 2 teams that don't play a lot of defense, that aren't great defensively. So I'm in a position where under is not interesting to me. I do like Montpellier if they climb to a 1-goal underdog. They're not there yet, so we'll wait and see. And then next I'll go to the nightcap on Saturday. Toulouse hosting PSG. And let's see, what do I think about this one? So Toulouse, they're a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice. They are over under is 3, split juice both ways. PSG coming off a goalless draw without Kylian Mbappe, who's like holding out, settling his contract, which makes me feel like the longer he sits out, the more PSG is at risk of not winning this title, because they didn't a couple seasons ago, and they did last year pretty easily, but still was kind of close coming down the stretch, and it was getting discussed. So we'll see. But Toulouse, they're got a lot of rebuilding that's happening. They came back and won after falling behind at Nantes with a big win in the opener. But they've got a lot coming for them because they're playing in Europe this year and lost a lot of talent. I don't know. I mean, the +1 is a huge push number on them. So we'll see how that ends up moving. I would imagine PSG money will still continue to come in, though they got bet down really hard, or the other side got bet a lot, Lorient, in their opener. So we'll see where the number goes. That's probably good food for thought for the future. No real feel for the total, because I think both teams want to score goals. On Sunday, we have Lille hosting Nantes. Currently Lille 1.25 goal favorite. Over under is 2.75, juice the over as well. Nantes, I'm not sure about the status. Their goalkeeper, Alban Lafont, who's one of their best players, just speaks to the danger of that team when they're only when their best player is a goalkeeper. But Lille are a great offense, have a really aggressive manager. I don't like the situation or setup for Nantes. On the next one, we'll go to Le Havre, who are a newly promoted, hosting Stade Brestois or Brest. Currently a pick 'em, a little bit more juice on Le Havre at home. Over under is 2.25, juice to the under. Le Havre, they came back and equalized late, I think, to get a 2-2 draw in their opener. So that was pretty good. Big point on the road. That probably wasn't expected. Stade Brestois with a good win, coming back from a 2-0 deficit at home to Lens, which was really unexpected. And so I guess we'll see what happens to this one. I'm excited to see how this one goes. I think my biggest interest in this one is the under 2.25, as I just don't expect either team to score, especially after a bunch of goals in their first outing, though that does certainly point to more goals here. Lorient then host Nice. Currently Lorient a 1/4 goal underdog at home. Over under is 2.5, juice the under. Lorient are a team that I mean, the market is not liked at all forever, it feels like. I'm very different, and I've been backing them for what feels like years. And I don't see a reason not to stop doing that. Nice have a lot of money. They've been building the club up, but they've still got a ways to go to prove that they're good. So I like Lorient here. Reims then hosts Clermont Foot. Currently Reims a 1/2 goal favorite. Pretty good performance, I thought, against Marseille in the opening week, but did not get anything from it. Over under is 2.75. Choose heavily to the under. And that makes sense because Clermont Foot are a team that I think is a dead under team. They scored a goal against Monaco, which was a really bad goalkeeping mistake from a debutante coming in from Salzburg, I believe, in Austria. Under 2.75 look good to me, though it's very expensive. 2.5 to 2.75 doesn't seem like a big difference to me. Monaco, I just mentioned, then host Strasbourg. Currently Monaco a 3/4 goal favorite. A little more juice on Strasbourg on the road. Over under is 2.75, juice heavily to the over. 2 teams that look like they're going to try to score goals this year. Monaco always are that way. Put on a ton of goals late. In what wasn't as big of a blowout, I didn't think, or maybe I'm thinking about. I think they did the same thing as that Rennes did as well last weekend. I don't really feel like I want to back Strasbourg yet. They've gotten a lot of infusion of capital, and it seems like the market likes them a lot this year, but I don't think I'm one of them. And last but not least, we have Lens hosting Rennes. A big, I think, Northwest derby Britain derby, I want to say, Brittany in northwestern France. Lens currently a pick 'em with all the juice. Over under is 2.75, juiced to the under. Rennes with a really good performance in their opener. Lens with a really poor second half, giving up a late penalty in the first half, really, I think, killed the momentum. I'm very interested in Rennes because they've been a bad road team, to be fair. Last season was really disastrous, but they were, I think, really great in the opener. And I think they're so good at recruiting to their team that I'm interested in them. It's just not really a spot for me right now, not yet hitting that quarter goal underdog, but I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for that one. Over under 2 3/4. I probably lean over, but as most of you who listen to this will recognize, I am not an over player. So for my best bet for France, I will go, and we'll get to the ultimate best bet in a second. I'll go Lorient getting a quarter of a goal at home. So now let's get to it. Don't have any promo codes. I would mention, check out Bet Online. If you don't have an account there, it's always good to have more outs. Slide some DMs if you want some instructions or trying to get into other places. I'll probably have some codes to share with you other places, but they might not sponsor me, so I might not mention it. Let's see. So if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. That'd be very helpful. If you're on if you're not on Patreon, what are you waiting for? I mean, that's where all my stuff is. You can get my baseball picks, my eventually college basketball stuff, all in one place, all right at your fingertips. So you can just throw it right in your betting machine, whether that's a phone, computer, or carrier pigeon, whatever. All will be worth it. And it's very affordable. So check it out. Get all my leans across all the sports. You can interact with me throughout the day. Download the app, and you can get notifications right as I'm locking a play in, which I'm probably going to sign this off of this and put in a baseball bet. So you would be getting that live if you were a Patreon subscriber. So check that out. Patreon.com/thereal_G Warner. And I guess it's time. So let's do the ultimate best bet. Hi, I'm the real_G Warner. This is betting the pitch number 218. And here's my best bet for this first full weekend of European football or soccer. From England, I like the West Ham under 2.5. In Spain and La Liga, I like Cadiz under 3 goals. In Serie A in Italy, I like Monza getting a goal and a half. In the Bundesliga in Germany, I like Augsburg under 3 goals. And in Ligue 1, I like Lorient getting a quarter of a goal at home. And my ultimate best bet for this episode is going to be those fishies, the Lorient getting a quarter of a goal at home. They just did really well against PSG, holding them to a scoreless draw. I think there's some value in that and speaks to the defense that they play. Now they get to host Nice, who are one of the most overrated clubs in all of France, and really are a club that are, I guess, getting a ton of respect because of the money that's been invested, but they've done nothing with it. They've been awful in Europe, and they've really haven't performed very well in France either. So take Lorient getting a quarter of a goal at home, and let's ride the home dogs. And that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. Please subscribe, leave a 5-star review, do all sort of things, as trying to get as much on here as possible. Thanks for support, and let me know if you like this late Friday edition rather than a Friday before the Friday matches occur, because teams seem to get overloaded, jumbled, and all that sort of stuff. And it's a little bit briefer episode, which maybe you might be interested in. So holla, let me know, and I will talk to you all very soon, likely with a midweek episode for Champions League and qualifications and those type of things.